welcome to the very first ever episode of Between the Lines. Thank you for joining us. This is my guest, Rosie Lowe. And for those that don't know about the podcast, it basically is my love of music, my love of lyrics, and being really nosy. So basically, I want to know, what does the lyric mean and where were you in your life when it happened? And we've done some really great episodes with a whole range of different artists from across different genres. But it's really nice to get not just to the heart of the song, but to the heart of the artist as well. And that's what we're going to do with Rosie. So Rosie, incredible artist, I would say like you're an advocate for independent music. I think the way that you approach your craft, the amount of releases that you have had, you know, the way that you tour, I kind of think of you as like an artist in every sense of the word that's very much in control of their career and their art. So you started off at Goldsmiths, right? Picked up early by Paul Wentworth, who signed you to his label, released music with Paul Wentworth on his label. Paul Wentworth was written for the likes of Adele and Florence Machine, people like that, and then went on to be an independent artist, releasing music under your own label. And here we are with your latest album, Lover Other. Is it all right that I've picked 2 tracks to just dissect?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
A pleasure. Let's dive in. So I want to know, firstly, you went to an incredible art residency to create the beginnings of the album. And I always think of like an art residency as like a nice holiday, a nice break from real life to just do the thing that you love doing. Was it like that?
Yeah, it absolutely was. And I returned 7 more times. So it was a good one.
You needed it
as well. Yeah. Yeah, it was incredible. When I started going into this album process, my manager at the time said, what do you need? And I said, I just need like a residency. I need to get out of London. I need to be away from distractions. And he said, I've got some friends that are doing residencies in Spain or want to. You'd be their first one, and you up for it? And I was like, yeah, I'll go. And I booked for 3 weeks and like packed a suitcase with some equipment and went out there. And my plan was to write on my own or not write on my own, like or not write at all. I mean, but yeah, it ended up becoming like a second home to me and a second family. And yeah, it was absolutely joyous. Yeah.
Do you remember like your headspace on that first day? So, you know, I just imagine you like rolling up with your suitcase up, you know, down to a kind of thinker, you know, Spanish kind of lovely setting. This couple kind of welcome you, or, you know, 2 people that live together welcome you. What's going through your head? What are you leaving behind in London?
I wish it was that smooth, my entrance into there.
Yeah, it's not like Love Island.
Gorgeous. No, it was a bit of a disaster, actually. I overpacked my suitcase. I pulled my back out on the way to the train station, on the way to the airport. And then I was like, okay, it's fine. Got on. And basically I'd done this kind of, instead of hiring a car from like a normal hire place, I'd gone and decided, I'm going to hire a car from this other app, which is just like, you know, anyone can hire their car out. So I thought, that would be a good idea and a bit cheaper. So the flight was delayed. I got in at like 11 p.m., got into a taxi to get a taxi to the hire car. And a very kind of angry Spanish man was driving me, didn't want to drop me like on the road, probably just couldn't understand my very bad Spanish. And I finally I got dropped on a back street in like, you know, the outskirts of Barcelona at 1:30 in the morning. And I was trying to find this car with like quite a lot of equipment on me, and my back pulled out, and I was like, what am I doing? Finally found the car, got in, and I couldn't find the lights the lights for the car. And I was like, this guy's hired me, he's rented me a car with no lights working. Anyway, I could get the headlights going if I held them down. I was like, I've got to go now because the people that are welcoming me into the residency, I'm not going to be there till 3 a.m. So I just drove, and I got pulled over by the Spanish police.
Oh, goodness. Yeah,
having no lights.
That could go wrong.
This is wild. Like everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And I got there, and then when I arrived, I just heard these dogs barking. At this point, I had such a bad fear of dogs. And they had these 4 huge dogs. And they'd kind of warned me before that they had dogs, but these dogs were bigger than any dogs I'd ever seen in my life. And I finally got into this like very sweet apartment, like joined to their huge, lovely Spanish farmhouse. And I just had a moment being like, oh, what have I done? And then the next morning I woke up and the light, it's like the light in Madremanya, this place is just like nothing I've ever seen. It's like incredible. And the sun was shining and the birds were singing and it was so peaceful and the church bells were ringing. And I opened up all the shutters in this apartment and I was like, okay, this is good. And then I walked over to meet the family and they were like, it was like they were my family. Like they were so similar to my mum and dad, the parents. And then Uma and Luke, who run the residential, were just incredible. And they became like my really big collaborators on this album. So we ended up writing a lot of the album together, just by chance. Like I didn't like know their music before that point, but it was like a beautiful marriage of all the things that, all the different styles that we were musically, and it just kind of worked. So it was a bit of a surprise, a bit of a tricky one to get there, but it was so beautiful. It was amazing.
I feel like it's a brilliant point actually to play There Goes the Light, which is the first song that I want to break down lyric for lyric. I think it's really nice that we can all be in the room together and kind of have a moment of active listening.
Nothing's real, not impatient, not resigned. Gotta let the slow days ride. There goes the light. Time sits and spills from day to night. There goes the light. No care, no fire.
Rosie Lowe, There Goes the Light. Beautiful track. So do you remember then where you were kind of physically and mentally when you wrote that song?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I was very peaceful, and I was in on this residency, and I was just doing a lot of sitting and kind of letting things be. I think I was kind of at a point in my career as well where I just went into this album. I just got out of I had previously got out of a major label deal, and this was the first album that I was going into out of that. And I felt like this new sense of freedom. I also felt really excited about that journey ahead. And I think that I gave myself some permission through that just to, well, the only thing I set out to do with this album was to have fun. And I kind of promised to myself that the process was going to be joyful, whatever twists and turns it took. So yeah, I was like doing a lot of just sitting and letting things kind of happen around me and not being like, I have to write a song today, or I must get this out of this 3 weeks, or I must get an album done by this time. I kind of decided that I wasn't going to get pulled into that mindset, and I was just going to let things be. And I think this song is really about that. Yeah.
So I sit still and the grass grows, nothing's real. Not impatient, not resigned. Gotta let the slow days ride. I always think that the first thing I was looking for when I was picking up the songs that I wanted to break down was kind of something that I can kind of latch onto that maybe is slightly abstract, or maybe the meaning's a bit ambiguous, or, it transports you somewhere. And I think that the opening of a song, is important. So even the idea of I sit still and the grass grows, it's like quite a nice image of you, quite a surreal image of time still moving even in the stillness, right? Can you tell me a little bit about those first lines for you?
Yeah, I think in this in Canobert, in this residency, they have a library full of books, and her mum's a performance artist, and she's just got the most incredible books. And I picked one out, and it wasn't that lyric, but it brought that lyric on for me. It was about how in stillness sometimes the best things can happen, and yeah, I think I came up with the chorus first of There Goes the Light, just thinking about like days are just passing and like that being okay. And yeah, and also kind of about, I guess, nature, that we think that I'm like really, I need to be around nature, I think, to write. I need to be kind of in a quieter place and like have a space to kind of go inwards and kind of check in. I find it hard to do that when there's so much kind of noise and such a quick pace going on around me. So yeah, I think this the slowing down and yeah, having all this space around me, and yeah, just like the fact that as humans we think that we're kind of in charge, but actually if we just all sat and never got up again, like nature still kind of thrives and carries on without us.
And do you feel like your upbringing has kind of, I guess, made that a need for you? You know, growing up in, I know you live in Deptford, now in Southeast London, which can be fast paced. But if you thought back to your childhood in Devon, I read that you didn't. I know like media, like, you know, put out things like she didn't have a TV. Like, I'm like, what? That's so cool. But you tell me about your childhood.
I mean, it was quite different. And we didn't have a TV, you know, or heating or hot water. We had to light the fire. It's still like that today. My dad still lives like that, and we lived off the land and stuff. It sounds like a really kind of idyllic kind of Von Trapp situation. It wasn't necessarily that, but we didn't have a TV, so we did create a lot of music, and we were outside a lot. And you know, we lived surrounded by nature. So I think that definitely has had a really big effect on kind of, especially my needs to be able to tap in. I think that's where I feel most peaceful.
Yeah, I guess like tapping out of the busy life, you know, as well. And did the transition of your age and kind of where you were at, like, you know, as a woman, I guess, this idea of being able to feel the need to slow down and being able to accept that, did you find that had come with where you were at age-wise?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I found 20s really hard for so many reasons. I think they can be really hard. I feel like there's kind of, maybe it isn't a story for everyone, but I feel like I've had this idea of like when you turn 30 as a woman, it's over in a way. Like, I don't know what in me believed that. But almost like you become invisible as well as a woman when you get like to that age. But my experience is life just gets so much better with each year. Like, I've loved, my 30s have just got better and better and better, and I've never been happier in my life, and I feel like that every year. I think that's partly to do with, well, I think it's mostly to do with just acceptance and letting things be a little bit more, probably knowing myself as well more, caring less, but also, and also like practices that I've got to help with that stuff. But yeah, I think it's definitely come with age that I'm not chasing something anymore. I'm not even sure what I was chasing, and maybe that was part of the struggle in my 20s. But I'm like very grateful for what I do have. And one of those things being music, and it's very, very sacred to me, especially being in the studio writing. In the process of creating is like why I do it. So kind of giving myself time to like stay in that zone is like a very good place for me. Yeah. I'm not like in a rush to get out of that. But yeah, I think it's definitely a coming of age thing to a certain extent of like, yeah, I'm like very happy and very accepting of things not happening, you know, kind of as you expect they might.
Yeah, definitely. So you were about 30, 31 when you start writing this album. And sometimes I feel like we also kind of attach, I don't know, somebody's album or their lyrics to the now. So, I'm thinking of who I know of you today and attaching what I know of you and how you live your life and, all the things to now. But actually, if we were to look back, quite a lot has changed in that time, even in the last 3-4 years, which is crazy. Can we talk a little bit about some of the practices? Because some of the lyrics that sort of spring out is the idea of not impatient, not being resigned, that finding comfort in the neutrality, I think that's a word, isn't it? Neutrality. But I want to know what sort of practices have allowed you to sort of make room with that.
I guess if you're not impatient and you're not resigned, I guess it's kind of being in the now. So it's kind of like not necessarily always looking back and not necessarily looking forward, which is something that I'm always like trying to strive for, is like being as present as I can. I think that probably came from learning how to be in that neutral place a bit more, is from being in the others, from being impatient and being resigned.
Which I think has been a lot of my life, being on either side.
And it not necessarily bringing like joy or peace or good music either. Like, so I think it all comes from a place of like accepting that like things are what they are right now, and actually hoping for something else in the future or wishing for something in the past doesn't change the future or the past. It kind of is what it is. I mean, I've had a bunch of therapy in my life, so I think that's probably also helped to just like be a bit more accepting of how things are. Yeah, and I'm not like there all the time, but that's like, yeah.
Where does the therapy maybe come in with the writing process? Is it kind of reflecting in real time? Is the healing coming kind of after the therapy sessions or a breakthrough? Like, how does the therapy work with the way that you write?
I think like it sounds really crass and cheesy, but I think like the music is the therapy. A lot of the time I'm like working through what I'm going through when I'm writing. So a lot of the time I don't know what a lyric means when I write it, but it feels right. So I stick with it, and then I then look at it as a whole, and I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of what's going on. But wasn't necessarily conscious of it, because I do think when you're writing, you go into a state of unconsciousness, really, when you're in flow with it anyway, not always. So I think that is part of the therapy. Right now, and for the last 5 years since I decided to defer on my therapy, I was studying to be a therapist at one point. I haven't been in therapy, just having a bit of a break from it. But up to before that, I was in therapy for 13 years. And
wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot. It is a lot, isn't it? I think healing can be tiring. It can. It's important. It's necessary. But you kind of, you have to be, in it to go with it. And sometimes you've got to step out of it. Because also you've got to live as well, I think, without constantly kind of analysing. The chorus, which, as you said, that's the first thing you wrote. There goes the light, time slips and spills from day to night. There goes the light, no care, no fire to ignite. I like the idea of the time slipping and spilling. I like the way the two words go together. Can you tell me about how that came to you?
I think that being away from London, I was also away from my life, very much so. And I turned my emails off and like very much was off my phone as well. So I think that I was very much in that state of like time became, it didn't matter, like it just literally was slipping. We were, or I was, and we were, when I was collaborating with Luca Numa, we were staying up till sometimes 5, 6 in the morning, and then waking up and then going for a swim and then going back, having a siesta, having some lunch, doing a bit of writing, going on a walk, and then starting at like 7 p.m. So it was like very much, we were very much in our own time, and I was very much in my own time as well, and it didn't matter. Every time I went there, I felt like I kind of went into a bit of a different time zone anyway, that, time is time, I always try and remind myself that time is a human construct. And I do think that I spent a lot of my 20s kind of being like, oh, time's running out. And like being quite like, I haven't got anything done today, and like worrying about that stuff. But yeah, I think I care less about time these days. It's just kind of is. So it's just slips and spills. I still feel like that now, really. Like, yeah, I feel really fine about not, if I can be still for 3 days and not do anything now, I'm very happy about that, because I would have got something from it. I actually think in stillness, like, amazing things come. But yeah, I do think that we're quite obsessed with it in our society anyway.
Yeah, the need to always be doing something or be productive, or, everybody's got the same hours in the day as Beyonce, or, how many hours in a week, And sometimes it is helpful to lean into it, but sometimes it's really helpful to step out of it as well. And I guess, do you find, maybe pre your feelings around time, did you find ever before that you would, let's say you needed a day of stillness because you've hit a wall, but did you find that you were allowing yourself to be still? So like, let's say if I had a Netflix day, part of me is like, let me just, I should check my email, I should be doing something, but I'm not enjoying the Netflix day because I'm thinking about, I should be doing this something.
Yeah, no, I was totally like that. I was never accepting. I never had any time off, basically, like guilt-free time off anyway. I was just always like, go, 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 go. And always kind of like, I should be in the studio. I want to be in the studio. I always wanted to be writing, or like kind of being pulled in different directions a lot of the time. I can't tell you exactly what it was that has shifted that a bit. And I've got a little boy now. So like my time is very reduced in terms of how much I have for myself. But yeah, I just think that it's become like something that doesn't kind of rule my life in the same way now. And I can't tell you what it was that did that. But I think it wasn't too long before I wrote this album, because it seems to be a bit of a running theme. Yeah, I think that something just landed that I was like, oh, it's okay. Like, it's going to be all right.
And which is crazy, because out of it comes such a productive thing, actually, which is an album that has been described as ambitious, inventive, daring. Rosie Lowe steps into, a new chapter as a producer and as a songwriter, and blends so many, genres. Like, the reviews are all incredible. They're all really great reviews. So when you were going into the process, then did you feel like, I'm being daring,
No. No. I just decided I'm going to have fun. Like, that's all I decided. And I didn't even know what it was. I decided I'm going to have fun. I decided I want to write like a lot of music. And then before I'd never had the opportunity to do that before, because I'd always worked with, in a bit more of a traditional setup, like as an artist with a producer, and kind of like you have your time with them, and as you write, you're producing, and then suddenly there's a kind of like an album at the end of it. But I was like, I want to have a pool of songs that I can kind of pick from. So I did. I wrote like over kind of 35 ideas, but it was like, by the end of the process, there were ones that, like had floated to the top. And that's maybe where people think it's like daring, might be because also it's like a bit of a collage of all the different things that I love to make. But I got to the point that I was like, I think I'm just going to put all the things that feel good and exciting to me on one body of work.
And I've listened to it, hopefully you guys have listened to it and experienced it. And if not, then on your way home, like, it's such a wonderful album to listen to, from start to finish. And often when people, praise you, it's more about the voice. They talk about how Rosie's sultry voice, the voice leads. Rosie's instrument is her voice. Have you always felt like that, and did that change on this album, or as you've grown, has other things come into prominence for you?
I think, when I got first signed out of university, it was predominantly vocal music. I was kind of singing every instrument. So yeah, I don't necessarily think it's my voice, but it's like the easiest instrument I find to kind of exemplify what I'm imagining in my head. But then before I released this album, or before I wrote this album, I did a collaborative album with my friend called Deval Timothy, called Sun. And that felt like a real full circle moment because it was all vocals. And we had the most beautiful process writing that. It was so free, and we left the doors open, and we didn't like worry about. We just didn't pick anything apart. The process was very fluid, and I think that had a huge effect on how I went into this album too. I think it was like an incredibly cleansing experience to do that album with Deval, because it kind of reminded me of where I come from and what it is to be in flow like that. And I think maybe I'd forgotten, or I hadn't felt that for a minute. So yeah, I think that then going into this album, it was, yeah, I can't remember the question.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Kind of basically, I can't remember the question either. It's gone. But I guess it's to do with the voice, actually. So, often I was listening to your voice, I was listening to the production you use, and then on this particular album, I've really zoned in on the lyrics. And there are still some songs that don't have, lyrics that are more, like choral, or like when on Rap Genius, it was just like, undistinguishable vocals, and I said to you we could do 2 songs because they're quite short. Is it your style then to write as a punchy writer, and who do you admire that has the way to be able to say a lot with a little? I didn't plan out to do like shorter punchy songs, but I felt like, I mean, when I'm writing, I don't have the time up in my Logic project, so I don't know how long a piece of music is. And then when I've like kind of done a structure and it feels good, or I've got to the end of a kind of process, I would look and I'd be like, 2 minutes 50, okay, cool. I don't really feel like I've got anything more to say on that. Like I feel like it's all there. And if I was going to add something in now, it would just be for the sake of making the song longer, and that's definitely not good enough reason. So yeah, like a lot of them did end up being quite short and snappy. And I mean, I really, really, like, some of my favorite moments on albums are like the bitties and the interludes. And that is something that I do kind of go towards. And maybe it is like subconscious. I think the reason why I like shorter kind of moments in albums though is like, sometimes it's like, it's just like a kind of, it's not a chuck away is the wrong word, but maybe it's like, it's just flowed and been left as it was kind of written. Yeah. And there's something that I love about that. Who's done that? Who does that well? I mean, Solange is amazing for that. Frank Ocean. Frank Ocean came to my mind. I started thinking of all the skits and all the
I love his
little
skits.
Moments. I just could play that again and again and again.
Yeah, and you kind of want more, but I always think, like, especially in this day and age, like, that's good. Press play again.
Yeah. Do you know it's ended? No, keep streaming, honey.
I mean, I come from a upbringing of like long form albums, but like a lot of jazz music with, like 20-minute songs and stuff. So it's not necessarily like where I've come from. But also, like, if I'm honest, I don't know about everyone else, but my attention span is very different to how it was 5-10 years ago. Yeah. And I find that, like, I don't have the time, but I don't really have the time or the energy a lot of the time to get lost in an album in the same way, or like, I'd rather listen. Like if an album, I do sometimes look, and if it's like over an hour, I think, okay, I've got to wait until I've got the time to listen to that properly, because I like to listen to things in full, and then I never go back to it. So I think that it's also like a sign of the times a bit for me, that I'm kind of like, I can take things in smaller amounts.
Yeah, that's the one thing I miss the most about. I know when we, pre-pandemic and going commuting every day, that was really my album time. To listen to something and set that hour in, hour out to listen to something, and I definitely miss that a lot more when I'm not commuting as much or working from home. I want to go back into the song because the second verse, we almost transported somewhere else. My love wrote me a sonnet when we were lovers, told me a secret, all of his drama. I said I'd keep it. Tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I'm sorry. So I kind of feel like we go somewhere. Where do we go?
I remember I wrote that bit with Uma Banag, who runs the retreat. I really like it when you feel like you're in something and then you're like suddenly like shaken up a bit and you go somewhere else. So that was, I think also lyrically a lot of things come from melodic ideas, and I remember us singing it and being like, oh, my love wrote me a sonnet, and us going back and forth with each other and being like, oh, we loved that, and saying like, oh, it doesn't really fit with what it is, but it doesn't matter because it just felt right in the moment. Yeah, so that one was just like to try and flip it on its head a bit. But the lyrics came from, like, I don't know, I guess maybe it could be seen as like you're very much in the moment and it's like time's flowing and, days are kind of disappearing and nights are coming and also then you're like suddenly in the past.
Yeah.
And then you come back to the now again. So maybe it's like kind of, no one's consistently in the present, are they?
No, and I guess in the stillness it gives you the time to reflect, to think about maybe things that you don't have the time to think about in a sort of day-to-day life. You sort of said about it doesn't really matter if it makes sense. Is that an easy decision to come to essentially break the rules and the structure of a song?
I think it doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense to others. For me, it like has to make sense to me. Yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to like go out and sing it over and over again live. Like it really needs to make sense for me. But I get excited. I think it leaves things up to whatever it means for the person. If things are too on the nose, then I think you're cutting out a lot of people's own experience of something. I think it's nice to leave things a little bit open for other people's experience. Yeah.
And is what you write then, I'm going to be on the nose, but is what you write then when you are writing about lovers or relationships, are we talking about the relationships now? Or are we talking about relationships in the past? Are they an amalgamation of all the relationships?
Usually now, I would say. I'm quite like a kind of now girl. Like in the moment when I'm writing, it's usually something that is like, or that I'm thinking about. So it could be from the past, but something that's like stayed with me that I haven't kind of, that's like, bubbling inside of me that needs to get out. But and also about the lovers, like a lot of the love songs are also for, not necessarily for my partner, but for, other loves of my life, like friends and stuff. But sometimes I don't make that necessarily clear.
That's because my assumption would be it's explicitly about romantic love. So that's interesting to hear that it doesn't have to be, or it is not always, but it's written in that way so anybody can take it for whoever they want to give their love to. Yeah. Do you have to say to your partner that one's not about you?
He thinks everyone that isn't about him is about him, and he thinks that everyone that is about him isn't. No, I do have to be quite explicit. Yeah. Actually, that one's not about you, and that one is. Yeah.
And knowing that he's going to listen, then to the one that is about him. Yeah. You must have an open relationship in order to be able to share. Because to me, it's the diary, isn't it? To share what's in your diary with him, so he kind of almost hears your abstract but inner thoughts. I'm a very open book. Sometimes too open maybe, because basically he's going to know what I'm kind of going through anyway. But I do, it
it is always like a moment being like, okay. It used to be that I would be writing the song in the same room as him, because I used to have a studio in our flat. So he'd be hearing things as they went. Yeah. Sometimes I waited till he went to bed to record vocals. Yeah. So I was like, I just need to see how this fits before. But I think he's got some good noise cancelling headphones anyway. Yeah. But now it's a bit different, because like when I went to the residential and I was writing songs and coming back and kind of playing them to him. But yeah, I think when you decide to spend your life with a singer, songwriter, I think that should be fair game.
Yeah, anything you do is going in a song. Yeah. I want to just pick up on some of the language. My love wrote me a sonnet. I sit still and the grass grows. Time slips and spills from day to night. What intrigues you about language when you're reading something or listening to something? What intrigues you about the way people use language?
I mean, I love poetry. I've always been a huge poetry fan. I love books. I read books, like I just eat them up. And a lot of my lyrics or inspiration comes from just novels. And I have a notes app or like a notebook, and I just write stuff down that inspires a thought in my head or something. But on the other side, I really love language that's like very direct. I love Erykah Badu for her lyricism specifically, because I feel like it's just a friend talking to you on the phone, and I love that too. So I'm always trying to, I guess, like weave between those two things. Of sometimes I find some lyrics and music for me is too far away for me to understand what it means in the moment of listening to it. And that really works for some people, but for me, in my brain, I kind of need to catch on to something, and then I'm in. But yeah, I mean, I love language, but I love reading it as well. Yeah. It kind of resonates differently, I think.
I think that's been one of the most fun things about this podcast is reading the lyrics. Obviously you hear them as well, and I think it sort of takes me back a little bit to when I was younger and like putting the sleeve notes out, or mine was like CD times, but I'd be so happy if the lyrics were in the booklet. I'd be like, yes, they've really made extra effort. But then sitting and reading them and thinking about how come they look like that? And I always try and copy and paste. You sent the lyrics to me, and I copy and paste them in the way that you've written them out, and that even the shape of them has a different impact when I think about it. I want to go back a little bit to the relationship and therapy side of things, and you did a lot of therapy. We spoke about the writing and healing in the moment, and the music being the therapy. I read that you were studying to be a relationship and sex therapist, and I wondered if that played into how you speak about sex and love and music.
So I deferred that course because I felt it actually got to the point that I was like, oh, I'm just like not in the right place in my life for this. But it was incredibly informative, and I'm like very passionate about it, and I still read a lot. But I think what made me want to even study to be it is me and my partner went to relationship therapy together, and we had like the most incredible therapist in the world. And I think the way that I talk about relationships and love was probably mostly inspired by him. And he gave us like incredible reading materials and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think I've always been quite open about that stuff anyway. But yeah, I think he gave us both like such an understanding of like learning another person, but also giving the other person a lot of space to grow and change. And not think that you know the other person too much, and always be willing to learn more. And I think that's like put us in a really good situation, and also I think has really helped me kind of approach relationships a little bit differently, and friendships, to kind of give more space to the other people in front of you and in your life, and not think that you know that everyone. I think that's like the beginning of the end, really, is if you think you know someone really so well that you don't know, that you know what they're going to say next. I think that then like there's some part of like inquisitive the inquisitive nature of wanting to know more kind of leaves at that point.
Yeah. There's one song on the album where you talk about just needing space. I mean, there's some beautiful, I know they're not always about your lover, but some beautiful love songs where you're either like, I love our love. And then there's other songs where you're like, I need my space. Thank you.
Yeah, like I need some physical space. Like I don't want to feel like,
So just the rawness and the honesty, I think, is what I think is impactful in the way you write. And people say it's intimate. And like you said about the phone call, again, critics have said it's like Rosie's on the phone to you when she's singing. I want to kind of wrap this song with the last bit. There might be nothing, which I also like the cadence of it and the swing of it and the kind of way it sort of jumps around towards the end. So there might be nothing, might be something, might be having one of those days. Sometimes it's easier to smile and say, just one of those days. So we have acceptance, and it's okay that, the day is the day, essentially. Let's hear Gratitudes, because I feel like they couple each other.
I see the setting sun every time I choose to see the rivers run, to watch the fading moon. So easy to regret and feel all shades of blue. So often I forget to say my daily gratitude. I need to say my daily gratitude.
Rosie Lowe, Gratitudes from the album Lover Other, which we're breaking down on Between the Lines podcast. I kind of feel like I went into radio mode there. I kind of really wanted to jump in at the end. So where were you when this song began its life?
I was in Berlin, and I was with the two co-producers on the album, Lloyd DeMonk and Harvey Grant, and we had been writing this other song all day, and then we were going out to meet some friends, and like 15 minutes before the end of the session, Lloyd, we'd kind of been sampling records all day and stuff, and we just started something on the MPC. It's always the way, just when you're heading out the door, you're like, that's great, I really like that vibe. So I got him to bounce it out for me. It was our last day, so I got him to bounce it out for me there and then I went home with it on my laptop and got home, and I just like literally just, it was written in like 2 hours when I got back. Yeah.
Why does, everyone always says the best songs are written, really quickly, or something just kind of falls out of you. I mean, is it the lack of overthinking that makes you able to access, something that is great? Like, what is it about that short amount of time that something great can come out of it?
I don't know. It's funny because some songs really are just easy and other songs aren't. And also like some great music out there is like stuff that's been really carved over a long period, and I do think that there's space for both things. But this, I don't, maybe it's just like a stream of consciousness or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I always want to access it, but I don't know if it's always accessible to work that quickly. But you travelled with a miniature studio, so you could have created in the moment when it happened. Can you tell me about the setup and what it was like making music on the move and having the freedom to do that?
Yeah, it was amazing because I got to like respond to each place I was at and like the food I ate that day or whatever. So I went, I was in Spain a lot, and then travelled through kind of Tuscany, and I did quite a lot of writing in Florence at one point, and then in Berlin I did a lot. Devon, Eastbourne, Sri Lanka. So I was just like taking this little studio. It was just it was basically like by the end of it, after I pulled my back out, it just became smaller. Like got smaller. Yeah, it became a big suitcase to a small suitcase, and it was just like really like a tape machine for vocaling. That was a really big thing for this album, in the same way that I just wanted to be able to record vocals and not get too like perfectionist about it, which I've got perfectionist tendencies, and I'm always trying to pull away from them creatively because I don't think that that's how you make good music. So I like promised myself that I would just use kind of full takes with this album, and I only ever did like 3 full takes through, and I just picked what was there. It was more of like a challenge to self, really, just to be like, to kind of accept what is there, because the music I like it's far from perfect, you know, and I think that's what makes it kind of breathe. So that's one of the things. And then just like a MIDI keyboard and a 303, just very basic, but it was amazing because also like as you move from place to place, you do respond to your surroundings. So it really changed like how I might write one day. And it's no surprise that the kind of more electronic songs on the album were written in Berlin.
Yeah. So we going hard at the Berghain.
Yeah.
Coming back and writing. What was you feeling on that particular day? So you get the beat back, you get home, and then, you know, you write a song about gratitudes. What are you feeling on that day?
I think gratitudes has been a huge part of my like daily practice for years, but I think at that point it was very much so. Like gratitudes and breath work. I think in my 20s, I got quite depressed at one point. I think, you know, music is such a kind of, you know, like organic, sacred thing for me. And then I think I've really struggled with kind of commodifying it and like the business side of things. And it's funny because I've seen quite a few people go through that now, who are like newer to the industry. And it really can, I think it really can break you. And it can be really difficult just to kind of understand when, you know, when I'm writing music, I'm never thinking what it is. And then you're suddenly like taken into a world of what is it? And it kind of being packaged in a way that might not necessarily feel right or like confusing or whatever. So anyway, I think that in my 20s, I was just really struggling with my mental health, and I found my way out of that through like doing quite intensive breath work and gratitudes. I felt like it really, really helped me at that point to kind of, felt like a reminder, also almost like a mantra of the things that I did have and the things that I did love and the things that I did appreciate. And then it's just become like it's become a daily thing. I don't even notice myself doing it anymore, but I like do it, you know, as I'm going to sleep. I just like list things off. It can be anything. It could literally, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It can be like anything. Also, like when we're faced with so much hard stuff going on in the world, I think it also really helps to notice all the little things that you do have and that other people don't have the privilege of having. And like noting those things, and like it's not always about the huge thing that you want or desire or the next whatever thing that you want to buy. Like actually, like how lucky we are to have a really, really, you know, really simple things like water.
Yeah, yeah. I see the setting sun every time I choose to see the rivers run, to watch the fading moon. So easy to regret and feel all shades of blue. So often I forget to say my daily gratitudes. I love the 2 lines, the way it starts. You know, I see the setting sun every time I choose, because the sun sets every day, you know, but you choose to see it, or you choose to acknowledge that you've seen it, or to see the rivers run, or to watch the fading moon. Like I always remind myself, like, to look up. And even when I'm out running, or like, you know, I take on my headphones, or like something about the leaves in the breeze, or something, just something kind of grounds me in being able to be grateful for the little tiny kind of miniature things. And I started doing gratitude, I think it came off of like reading The Secret, which is like entry level, like in my early 20s, and then starting to read some self-help books. And then, but it really, I think, impacted when I had a car accident and I didn't walk for 3 months. And I did the gratitude every day because I was so depressed. I was so angry, like, why me? You know, like that sort of thing. But I think the daily act of doing the gratitude, I could feel something shifting inside of me that started to feel better. But I was just grateful for the basics, like grateful to be alive, grateful for my foot, grateful for my bed, grateful for my parents, you know, grateful for support, grateful for the house, grateful for the food in the fridge, you know, really basic stuff. And then as time went on, you start to notice you're feeling a bit better. I'm grateful that I walked a little bit today, or, I don't know. But I definitely know that practice, I'm not saying that healed me, but I know the practice healed my mind along the way of the journey. Can you tell me about, maybe I guess a little bit, you spoke about, obviously where you were at in your 20s. Did it start off like physically writing stuff? Did somebody tell you to do it? And how do you do it today?
No, I never write it. I mean, I think I have actually in the past done pages and written it down. Yeah, I definitely have. I've got notebooks full of gratitudes, but I don't do that now. I just like run it off in my head. I did this guy called Breath Pod. He does like breathwork stuff, and I think that he talks about a lot about the science of like breathwork and how it can actually change your, like it can literally change your vibration and like your brain chemistry. So I started getting quite interested in that because I could feel my brain chemistry changing after breathwork, like after I just breathed loads. And my singing teacher at the time kept on saying, like, Rosie, you're just holding your breath all the time. Like it's like you're waiting for something bad to happen. You're just like holding your breath. And I started noticing that I was doing that. So yeah, I like dove into breath work, and then as part of that, he was doing gratitude. So I think it came from the breath work of the gratitudes. And then I found when I started doing gratitudes that I was just like, my headspace was shifting just away from kind of what don't I have and why, and just like from all of that stuff into like, wow, I've got all of these things. And that's actually quite incredible.
But you're honest in the song. It's not kind of like in a preachy way, we must be grateful, be grateful every day. You're honest in that you forget, to say it. Do you feel like in this kind of era of positivity porn, and, this kind of online, no one wants to be negative or have negative thoughts or think bad things or, attract bad things. But this song kind of still feels human in the way that you interact with gratitude. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, because like I also, of course, I still have really dark thoughts, like and sometimes I'm really ungrateful for things that I should be grateful for. Like I'm multidimensional. Like I'm definitely a human being that is far from perfect in that way. But I think it's just a reminder. I also have struggled with insomnia a lot through my life, and I think I can be an overthinker. I can really get into that frame of mind of like overthinking everything, and so I just started like counting gratitudes instead of sleep. Sheep.
Yeah.
Or sleep. Yeah, I just started doing that instead, and then just like seeing how many things can I kind of, like kind of go through until I'm asleep, really. So yeah, it's like, I mean, also, I like often find myself going down a train of like maybe not very healthy thought patterns, but I just feel like it helps me. It's like a tool to help me bring me back on track a little bit. Because also I think like one of the human conditions is always wanting more. Like I think that we always want more.
We're told to want more.
We're told to,
yeah.
And then when we get there, we're not satisfied because we want
More.
next thing. I mean, we might be satisfied for kind of like a minute. So yeah, I just think that like it helps me. It just helps ground me. It maybe doesn't work for everyone as well, but like it helps. It's really been powerful for me.
Yeah. How much time I waste from going around the shit I didn't do, but maybe I'm just scared when my glass is half full. It kind of picks up on the overthinking,
Yeah, and I think a lot of the time, like my partner would definitely say that I'm like a cynic, and that I'm always like, if he's like, oh, this thing's happening, I'm like, it hasn't happened yet, and like. I'm like, don't jinx it.
Yeah.
And like he sometimes says that I'm like glass half empty. And I think that definitely comes from like, or it definitely has done, especially like come from a feeling of like self-protection and being like, well, if I don't expect for the thing to happen, then it will it will be less disappointing when it doesn't happen. But actually, I've realised through time that it doesn't make it any less disappointing when the thing doesn't happen.
That you hope that it will.
Yeah, just because you're not kind of like leaning into it doesn't mean that it's not there. And I feel like that with like a lot of emotions. I feel like the fear of the emotion is actually much worse than the emotion. So, you know, being anxious about being broken up with, for instance, or rejection, is probably worse than the rejection itself, because it's then the reality instead of like going around and around in your mind and like a spiral, especially if you're someone that spirals, I think. So my feeling is like I've kind of now like always trying to lean into the fear a little bit, and if it scares me, then I should probably like lean in a bit.
Yeah.
Harder.
And then how did you switch then, or have you been on the process of switching from, you know, the cynic to maybe it will happen?
Not to my partner.
Yeah.
No, I think in my head, like it's definitely, I've felt a shift of being like, yeah, like that's going to happen. And I've actually got like a lot more into like manifesting. I also struggle with I struggle with manifestation, because I think that like, I do have this feeling of like not wanting to disappoint and like for it to for the crash to come down harder, basically. But yeah, I think that I'm maybe like glass quarter full.
Glass quarter full. I mean, we were speaking about this backstage, and I thought it'd be quite nice because obviously for Gratitudes specifically, I think both songs, but going into September and kind of the reset, you know, of the last sort of leg of the year, but also the back to school kind of, you know, thing of it. But I've said this to you backstage. I said to my friend yesterday, like, I used to be like big manifester, like, you know, like definitely in my 20s, like I would like get into bed and I'd imagine myself like at the radio desk, like the One Extra logo behind me, like I really saw myself there and I could feel it. And then, you know, I could put myself there, and I feel like as I've gotten older, I've lost the magic of being able to manifest so vibrantly or really believe it, because there's a slight like little voice in my head, yeah, but the industry is terrible right now. Ain't nobody got no jobs, nobody got no money, nothing's happening. You know, and it's like, and I want to manifest and I want to think beyond it, and I want to kind of tap back into like the small, you know, the person that was in their 20s that did really believe that that would happen. And I finding it hard in today's day. Can you talk to me about that? Can you help me out? Rosie, please.
No, I'm not very good at manifesting at all. I think that one of the things I struggle with is like I don't have a huge amount of clarity in exactly how I want things to look. I know how I want things to feel, but that's not really like helpful with visualizing manifesting so much. You know, I'm kind of in the same place that we were when we spoke, not 2019, that video clip you put up, that I still just want to make music that's uncompromising, and I still want to just like be sustainable, and I just want to be happy and like have good people around me, really. So yeah, I don't like have this one thing. Like I don't have like, I want to play on the Pyramid stage, so I'm going to manifest that kind of thing, you know?
Which is a reasonable dream to have.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
possible,
it would be absolutely reasonable, but it's just nothing's that like clear to me in that way, because I'm not sure what the road takes. Like I don't really know. I just know how I want to feel, I guess. And I am like happier than I have ever been musically, because I think that I've let some of that stuff go of like, I guess my own like expectations or something. Yeah.
The video that we're talking about, I posted a video which I dug out from me and Rosie in 2019, so pre-pandemic, and you talk about the realities of being an independent artist and, you know, touring and just the hardships of being an independent artist, or just an artist today in general. How have you found a way to do it then? I
think I've become a lot more boundaried, and that's also come with being a mum. I think you have to be more boundaried, but like I just say no to more things and say yes to like more exciting, less things, but more exciting things that are actually probably gonna like sustain the thing instead of drain the thing. Yeah. it's not necessarily about money, but I often think like, am I going to come back energized from that? Or am I going to come back completely exhausted at the seams? And if it's the latter, then I'm like much less likely to take it.
Yeah. Does it feel crazy listening back to the music now? This was you pre-motherhood. And now when you go out and perform this music and everybody's interacting with this music, it's post-motherhood. Do you feel like you are such a different person?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm exactly like, no, it doesn't feel that abstract because I got pregnant at the end of the writing process. So I produced the whole album with Donnie, my little boy, in my tummy. So I felt like he was very much part of it. And I was like becoming like the next me with him in that, with the music, really. So yeah, it's funny. I feel like I don't really feel like a lot has changed with motherhood, but I think for me it's made like music better. I've got less time, but I like appreciate it even more, the time that I do have, and I feel very lucky to be able to call this my job. Like I think it's I feel like incredibly grateful
Yeah.
for that, and then I get to go back to a sweet little boy. So like, yeah, I'm like really loving the two parts of it, and it's made me more boundaries, so it's good.
Yeah, I mean, it looks it's like 1 minute we're at Prada, you know, and we're on Jules Holland, and then the next minute you're sending me a lovely, you know, video of you two like hugging. So it's nice to have the duality. So the album was written at a transitional time, early 30s. We're now, I think you're saying age is me, 34.
35.
Yeah, 35, which is a big, I'm very like interested in 35. I'm turning it in a month. I'm very interested in this age. I'm like, what does it mean?
So far, so good.
So far,
Yeah,
so
I'm
good.
enjoying
Yeah, I feel like it's a big shift. I know my mom's probably sitting there, wait till you get to 55, you know, but 35 does feel like a bit of a shift. So what is the chapter that you are in now then?
Why is 35 a shift? Because you're
I don't
nearer
know.
40.
I don't know. It just feels like a number that I can stick in.
What
stick on.
chapter am I in now? I'm now moving into the next creative thing. And yeah, I'm thinking a lot about what those things are and how I want to feel making them. And I think that I really want to, you know, lean into more of just be more in the driving seat with each project, really. Definitely going to aim to have as much fun, but maybe it won't be quite the same. I won't be able to disappear for 3 weeks at a time. But yeah, I don't know, more composition and just stretching my boundaries of what it is for me. Like I always wanted to be like stretching. I don't want to make something that feels too easy either. Like I just want to feel like I'm growing with each project. Yeah.
And you just came back from another art residency with Anais. Do you feel like that is an important, you know, part of your creativity? I know you can't go for 3 weeks, but 5 days is nice.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely like key to get out for me, to get out of London and also like away from like, the hustle and bustle, and also like turn off about what everyone else is doing. I just don't think it's like matters or is conducive to, it's not necessary when you're creating to be thinking about what others are doing. I think you just need to kind of get lost in your own world. Yeah.
And I think that's what's so beautiful about this album and all of your projects. You know, you do bring us into this world, and when I think of your artistry, I feel like of it as a complete, you know, thing that we get to step into Rosie's world. And I love that you do it on your own terms. And yeah, I don't know, maybe, whatever transition the album was written in, it's vibrating with me. Well, we always ask for you to pick a lyric. You can pick one from either song to leave people with, and why.
From my song?
Yeah, from your song,
songs.
from either Gratitudes or There Goes the Light.
Oh.
Do you want the notebook?
Do
you want the lyrics? Yeah, you should.
Uh,
Ignore my sprawling notes.
yeah, I would pick the last lines of There Goes the Light. There might be nothing, there might be something, might be having one of those days. Sometimes it's easier to smile and say it's just one of those days. Because I think that encapsulates you know, those days when things aren't feeling okay and it's just like, oh, well, tomorrow might be better. I guess it's just like a feeling of acceptance. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rosie Lowe. Thank you guys for being here. Our first live episode of Between the Lines.
Thank you so much.
Yes.